It's Andre Banks coming to you today with another fantastic short book, worth your attention, worth your time. Survive, and thrive in the coming pension fund apocalypse. I found the title. I was scrolling around. Actually heard somebody do an excerpt about this book. It's extremely short, 94 pages, but packed full of just such valuable information. I've done so many videos on pensions, and I can't stress enough the pension problem that's continuing to unfold. There's a couple other videos about it, but they're not getting enough coverage. And so many things are attached to these pension funds. But this book is a great historical aspect because it shows every economic period, what they give their opinion on what you can do to strive, survive, and thrive through the coming pension fund apocalypse. And it's by Lee Rendel. Never heard of the author before. Again, I was scrolling down looking at this information, and I found this book. I was listening to some of YouTube. Someone mentioned this, and I got to give credit when the credit's due. I think it was Economic Ninja, but I can't say directly for that. It was a YouTube for that, and then I found out some more information about the book. It's written in really big, bold ink. You'll see that here. I'm just going to kind of very easy to read. If you don't have any financial background, this is just astounding in terms of how much detail they put inside this. It goes over history through 1960s, what the dollar is being devalued as. I'm just reading now. The country's lost majority of its manufacturing base. Explains how manufacturing was lost, and especially in the United States, treasury bonds, what they provide. Russia stopped buying U.S. bonds in 2018, selling 84% of their holdings. So much different information from that. Chapter 2 is understanding inflation, deflation, stagflation, and money supply. Explains what inflation is. Again, this is for the novice, but even for the person who's educated, like myself and others who are watching my channel, it still provides such a background and just such pertinent, good information. He even goes to collateral mortgage obligations, institutions about how much debt we have as a whole and how this is going to be paid back. Fractional reserve lending talks about the Federal Reserve. Understanding deflation, understanding stagflation. It goes into different excerpts. Again, it's really straight to the point, but it gives such a background information. It even gives you resources where you guys all this information from at the back. Only 94 pages, but I can't stress enough how valuable this book is. Again, I want to put the cover here: "Survive and Thrive in the Coming Pension Fund Apocalypse" by Lee Rendel. Printing at warp speed was chapter 10. Oh, this is another good aspect of the book itself. Goes into blockchain, Bitcoin, why he believes Bitcoin is the future, blockchain itself, the technology itself behind it. He did mention different platforms that on the DeFi networks that, unfortunately, some of them he mentioned here they're bankrupt now. Celsius, BlockFi, and Voyager. I think BlockFi just filed its bankruptcy today, depending on what day you're going to watch this video. But again, he gives us, if you never know anything about Bitcoin, DeFi, decentralized finance, great chapter on that. And that's chapter 8. Again, his opinions. For the most part, agree with a lot of the stuff he says here. 95% of it. I just, when it comes to Bitcoin and anything like that, and you're specifying any specific cryptocurrency, that's when I get a little worried, because it just, even though I have my strong opinions about things, it's still very speculative, and I don't recommend anything in that point, especially if you don't understand the technology behind it. And if you're looking into that space, he gives a good chapter about that. Also, the importance of owning your own, having keys, understanding that financial keys. He explains what that means. I'm just not going to go into detail that much about it. Ethereum talks a little bit about that. The private key, and if you don't own your keys, you don't own your coins. So that's exactly what that means. He goes into detail what that phrase particularly means at that point. Great book, 94 pages. You will not go wrong with this. I cannot stress enough. Silver and gold, two of my favorite assets. Actually, insurance. It's not assets. It's real money. And throughout history, they have been the go-tos. So I love chapter 6, Enough of the Doom and Gloom, How to Survive and Thrive. He explains his opinion about that, what happens with fiat currencies throughout history. Quote a letter from Thomas Jefferson. If the American people ever allow private banks to control the issue of their currency, first by inflation, then by deflation, the banks and corporations that will grow up around them, the banks, will deprive the people of all property until their children wake up homeless on the continent their fathers conquered. The issuing power should be taken from the banks and restored to the people, to whom it properly belongs. I sincerely believe that bank establishments are more dangerous than standing armies, and that the principle of spending money to be paid by posterity under the name of funding is but swindling futurity on a large scale. Thomas Jefferson to John Taylor, 1816. Words still hold such value, especially in the day and time that we're living in. Explains a little bit more about the Federal Reserve itself. The economy is good. The illusion that the economy is good. Let me rephrase that. Make sure I say the right terminology here. I love this. Gold is not concerned about a currency collapse. It sees many fiat currency come and go over the years. But the hoarders of gold, silver, and other hard assets will always come out on the other side a lot better off having maintained their purchasing power. Everything is about purchasing power and stability. And another great chapter, Why You Don't Want to Become a Mexican Millionaire. 1980s, 1990s, there were a lot of wealthy Mexicans who owned stock in the Mexican stock market, the Mexican stock exchange, commonly known as Mexican Bolsa, Mexico or BMV. This is where the stocks are traded. What happened was stocks in the exchange were flooded with many freshly printed pesos, courtesy of the Mexican government. These pesos were looking for a place to call home. The stocks absorbed the currency, and stocks kept hitting new all-time highs. Many wealthy Mexicans became newly minted millionaires. The only problem is that these pesos were not only being absorbed by stocks, but also by beer, tacos, gasoline, and every other asset class. Now, it didn't matter how many pesos you owned because they all had lost all its purchasing power. Courtesy of Mexican politicians that had not studied monetary history and failed to understand what happens when you debase your currency. Debasing your currency is how politicians continue to operate. We have just been so blessed that we have the Federal Reserve currency of the world, which then allows everyone to use United States dollars, and most debt is denominated in dollars. So I would, that gives, if you're living in the States, the extra bonuses. But again, it's the cleanest shirt in a dirty hamper. And throughout history, all fiat currencies go to the intrinsic value, which is zero. So this book is a great history lesson, very short book, and I'm going to keep recommending great books that I find. Survive and Thrive in the Coming Pension Fund Apocalypse by Lee Rendel. I'm not being paid to do this. I'm just, as an affiliate, my goal is to bring as much information as possible, especially good reading material, and how to strive and thrive in the economic climates that we have now, especially in the information age where we have access to so much information. Good books like this help fortify that fact, and it's worth your time to take a look at it. If this video has been any value to you, please subscribe, leave some comments, and to my next video for Information Age Financial Solutions. I'm out.